Islam Makhachev and Khabib Nurmagomedov have been telling anyone who will listen recently that the former should be given the next crack at the lightweight crown, given the fact that it's now up for grabs following Oliveira's missed weight last time out, and Islam Makhachev himself has been making his case. Today we are discussing Makhachev's recent comments regarding a title shot which included him branding Charles Oliveira unprofessional, so stay with us. First up, let's take a quick look at Makhachev's career to date. Dagestani fighter Islam Makhachev was born in 1991 and currently trains under the tutelage of friend and longtime training partner Khabib Nurmagomedov, who of course previously held the lightweight title Makhachev has his sights set on. The young Makhachev competed in combat sambo from a young age, just like his coach Nurmagomedov, and made his MMA debut back in 2010, scoring a decision win over Magomed Bakhbalatov. He followed that up with 10 straight wins before signing with the UFC in October of 2014, making his debut the following spring. He won his first UFC bout, but of course, the competition is much stiffer in the top promotion, and he was stopped in just his second UFC appearance against Adriano Martins. Since the Martins defeat, Makhachev has been on an absolute tear, winning 10 straight and beating the likes of Gleison, Tebow, Dan Hooker, and Bobby Green. However, there have been some suggestions that Makhachev is yet to face a real top-of-the-food chain lightweight, as he still hasn't fought anyone in the top 10 as of yet. He currently sits at number 4 in the division, with just Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, and Justin Gaethje ahead of him, who would all pose much stiffer competition than anything he has ever faced before. A title shot without beating a top 10 fighter might be a little unrealistic, so we think of a fight with one of either Dos Anjos, Chandler, or Beneil Dariush, once he's fit again. Might make more sense. So what's he been saying about Oliveira? Let's see. Well, for some reason, both Makhachev and Nurmagomedov believe that Islam should get the next crack at the title, which will also be contested by Charles Oliveira, who will try to win back his title after being stripped for not making weight against Gaethje. However, there are some detractors who believe Makhachev's ranking is a little inflated, given the fact he has never fought a top 10 fighter, but the man himself believes he should be next in line for a title shot. Makhachev believes he is the obvious choice, as Oliveira has recently beaten the two fighters ahead of him in the rankings, which makes sense from that point of view. And speaking recently, Islam explained that due to the current win streak, he deserves it the most. He said, "We don't have a champion. Charles is a contender. That's why it's going to be for the title. I deserve it. I have a 10-fight win streak." Oliveira said, "I don't deserve this," but he's asking about Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. He didn't seem impressed with the idea of Oliveira fighting either McGregor or Diaz, going on to brand the Brazilian as not a professional for the way he missed weight last time out. And we would agree that McGregor doesn't deserve a title shot, nor does Diaz for that matter. So Makhachev is probably the obvious choice once all the options are assessed. Who do you think gets the next shot? What else did the Russian have to say then? Stay tuned. Well, of course, whenever the lightweight title is being discussed, there are those that inevitably steer the conversation toward Makhachev's coach, Khabib, making a comeback. Nurmagomedov was one of the most dominant champions in the history of the division, but even Dana White said recently that he dodged prime Tony Ferguson for years during his reign. And when questioned about who would win, Makhachev claimed his coach would beat Oliveira with ease, saying that Khabib is the most dominant grappler from top position. Islam went on to say that he's gonna take him down, hold him there, very easy. I honestly think this is a very easy fight for Khabib. Stylistically, all of Oliveira's pressure is not gonna work against Khabib, because Khabib pressures all of his opponents. He then went on to explain that Khabib will never get the chance to fight Oliveira, as he will take the title for himself before that ever happens. He finished by claiming that he is going to finish Oliveira once they actually face off, which might be a little easier said than done, so would have to rely on knocking him out, which isn't really his speciality. Makhachev was last out in a dominant win against Bobby Green back in February, and is reportedly ready to go again in the near future. Who do you think wins if Makhachev faces Oliveira next? Next up, Gilbert Burns has had his say on who comes out on top between Makhachev and Oliveira. Burns was last seen against Khamzat Chimaev in a 3-round war back in April, but the welterweight has recently been giving his opinion on the outcome of the proposed Oliveira versus Makhachev bout. Of course, being Brazilian, he knows what he's talking about when the subject of jiu-jitsu comes up, and he has revealed that he thinks Oliveira is some of the best in the business. Burns recently described Oliveira's ground game as so good, so technical, so beautiful, before adding that his countryman's details are so sharp. Burns referenced Oliveira's guillotine and reverse triangle as just some of the techniques he is dangerous with, before going on to say whenever he saw he was losing the position, he was already on the back. And I know Justin Gaethje put in a lot of work. He brought in Jorge Santiago, who's one of Kamaru Usman's trainers. He's very high level. I trained with Jorge a couple of times. I know Jorge put tremendous time into working with Justin, and this guy put him out in 1 minute. Burns also spoke of what Charles did to Dustin, as well as nearly breaking Tony Ferguson's arm, going on to describe his fellow Brazilian as super technical. And when he gets on your back, it's almost certainly the end, because he's so long and the body triangle wears his opponents down. And whilst acknowledging that Islam's grappling is high level, he revealed that he is still backing Oliveira when the pair finally face off. Interesting. And of course, Chael Sonnen has aired his views. Motormouth himself, Chael Sonnen, has also been speaking about Makhachev recently, dismissing the argument that Makhachev needs to beat a top 5 guy before fighting for the title, always one to go against popular opinion, sometimes just to come across as edgy. Sonnen recently claimed that the argument that Makhachev hasn't beaten anyone inside the top 5 or even the top 10 is misleading. He explained that whilst the fact that Islam would be the first person to fight for a title never having beaten a top 5 guy is correct, it's not the whole story. He said that they were trying to say that Islam doesn't deserve it. It's very misleading. If you have a 22-1 record, which Islam does, that's very remarkable. And what we all admit is the most difficult division in the entire industry. That's a beautiful record. I mean, it's not exactly muddying the waters to point out facts, but Sonnen has suggested there's a big difference between not beating someone and never fighting them, saying, "I firmly believe that the rules of the playground do carry over to the octagon. If you have 2 guys and one refuses to fight the other guy, the class now has their answer. All of us knew who the baddest dude in the school was, but how many times did you ever see that get tested? It carries over to the octagon. Do you agree?" And finally, Tony Ferguson has revealed why he respects Islam. It appears as though everyone in the world of MMA is having their say on Makhachev at the moment, and Tony Ferguson has also weighed in on the Russian, saying how Islam is different to other aka fighters as he doesn't cheat. Ferguson was talking on Helwani's MMA Hour podcast recently, when he also discussed his old beef with Makhachev's current coach. Khabib Nurmagomedov lightheartedly suggested that he is going to continue to joke around with Khabib, because that's how he is. And after suggesting that Khabib cheated the scale during one of their weigh-ins, he suggested that Makhachev would never pull a stunt like that. Of course, there's no evidence that Khabib ever cheated a weigh-in. Ferguson went on to say, but it's one of those aka things where they do that, and they get away with it. With Makhachev, he's different. He's different. I got respect for that. So, out of everything, and all due respect, I'm still giving Khabib the finger. But until that day when we shake hands like man, maybe it'll never happen. So, props. Fair enough. As always, thanks for joining us today, and remember to stop by again next time for some more fun and games. Bye, guys!